Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about an extreme pattern flip that is coming up that's really going to shift things around. Right now, we're taking a look at cold in the west, warm in the east. That could come to a change in the upcoming pattern. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now, I would also highly recommend that you check out our very useful and exciting Patreon page. I just made a post actually referring to this video that we're making right now that tells you all the reasons why this upcoming pattern is going to be the way it is. So I get really deep into the details on why this upcoming pattern is going to be the way it is. And really, it's very cheap. It's only $3 to join. And if you don't like it, you can always cancel. So I highly recommend you at least check it out. Alright, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, what is the coldest temperatures you've ever felt? Let us know where you were, when it was, and what it was like, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Let's get into this video, and first things first, we're taking a look at, well, this morning. And as you can see, we have that southeast ridge that is set up over the eastern United States there, and that's really been the story for a while now, and it looks like it is going to try to hold on for quite a while as well. This is exactly the type of pattern we've been talking about in our winter forecast video and winter thoughts videos recently, that this could be a pattern that likes to take place every once in a while, which really shifts our forecast, obviously. Very cold there for the plains and the Rockies. We're going to talk about that in a moment. That is historically cold temperatures that are going to get even colder, up to 45 degrees below average or more at certain points. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. What we're going to do is we're going to move on, where we're going to see this cool down really make its way further south and just further into the United States, and actually it's going to become more and more potent as time goes on. And as you can see, this is by actually tomorrow afternoon, Saturday, October 24th. And as you can see, those greens actually make it well further into the United States and actually further east. Basically, just the eastern seaboard is dealing with those warmer than normal conditions by this point. The southwest is dealing with some warmer than normal conditions as well. And the cold is really just set up over the Pacific Northwest, through the northern Rockies, and into the upper Midwest, and then it dives down into the plains with a lot of those greens. If you're anywhere in the greens, you're basically taking a look at about 10 to 15 degrees below average, which is already pretty far below average. If you're in those blue shades that are in between the greens and the purples there, that's where you're at about 15 to 30 degrees below average. That's where you're getting very far below average. And then the purples are 30 or more degrees below average. And actually our most below average is for Montana right there on this frame, and it's 41 degrees below average Fahrenheit. That is extreme. If your average temperature is 41 in the wintertime, you're at 0 degrees with that. So that is very extreme when you think about it. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to actually take a look at a frame, which is going to be Sunday afternoon, where it's going to get even colder. We're going to see 46 degrees below average, and we're actually going to take a look at the actual temperatures to show you just how cold it's going to get here. Alright, now here we are taking a look at, again, about Sunday afternoon, maybe 1 p.m., maybe 12 p.m. there on October 25th, and those pinks, those deep pinks is where we're really taking a look in those bright colors at, 40 to 45 degrees below average. We're actually at about 46 degrees below average on this frame. Let's just go ahead and take a look at the actual temperatures here, and this is the high temperatures, remember. And as you can see, for Wyoming, Montana, a lot of Colorado, a lot of the upper Midwest, we're at the 20s, even some of the teens there for Minnesota, the Dakotas, Nebraska, Colorado, and even some single digits being picked up there in those very deep kind of purples that are inside those reds there for Wyoming and Montana. Very far below normal, again, about 45 degrees below normal, I would say 40 to 50 degrees below normal in general for a lot of those regions, so very far below normal temperatures, and that's the high temperatures. So let's just go ahead and move on towards Monday afternoon, same hour, about 12 or 1, and as you can see, those pinks get even brighter, and they go further south as well here, so 48 degrees below average now for a lot of those pinks, and this is just historic by this point because it's very rare to see temperatures that are this below average, especially that far down. A lot of times we see the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, if we see a polar vortex come down, well, you're going to see those very far below normal temperatures, but for Texas and New Mexico, it's very odd. And here's the high temperatures on this date, and as you can see, for northern Texas, our high temperatures are going to be in the teens. Oklahoma, the 20s, especially if you're in the western regions. If you're in the eastern regions, it's 40s or 30s. A lot of those reds are where we're picking up the areas that are about, I would say like 10 to 30 degrees maybe. A lot of the 30-degree regions are in those like brighter blues. So probably the 20s or teens there for a lot of the reds, and you can see it's very, very widespread throughout the plains, the upper Midwest, the Rockies. This is just a huge cooldown, probably the biggest one we've seen, obviously, all season. Well, actually, I know for a fact it is. And here is the actual temperatures for the low temperatures that night. And you can see it actually doesn't actually get that much colder because it's already so cold, but we do see a lot of those blues pop up for Minnesota, the Dakotas, Nebraska. That's where we're in the single digits. You can see 3 degrees there for central Minnesota, so just so cold. We're actually seeing some negative temperatures there for the southern Rockies in Colorado. Not surprising in those high elevation areas. So yeah, very, very cold temperatures here. What we're going to do is we're going to move on just towards Tuesday, October 27th, and we're going to start to see this cool down move towards the eastern United States here in the extended range. So as you can see, we're actually seeing this cool down become a lot less potent, and it's moving further east, like I said before. So this is actually mostly due to that positive PNA coming into play. Notice those oranges out there for the West Coast. It's more neutral at this point, but I want you guys to pay attention to that. I love kind of having a little bit of educational notes in my videos, just so you guys can get better at following my videos with me. I think probably you guys appreciate that as well, because it makes, obviously, it easier to pick up on patterns and stuff and just gain that knowledge. And you can see that southeast ridge is just still in place here. We're not really going to see a full pattern switch, if we even do, for the southeastern United States. And I live here, so it's pretty disappointing. But really, we're not going to see a pattern switch until maybe the 30th, 31st, or the 1st of November. That's when we could see that southeast ridge finally die down. But for now, the southeast ridge is really going to be winning that battle of cold and warmth. A lot of that cold has moved into the plains here, as you can see. Let's just move it on a frame, and this is by Thursday afternoon, October 29th. And as you can see, the West Coast is now fully switched to warmer than normal conditions, which again is that positive PNA taking place. The PNA is really just a reflection of what the temperatures are like there out on the west coast of Canada and the United States. So if you see positive temperatures in the west, that's a positive PNA. If you see negative temperatures in the west, that's a negative PNA. And if there's positive temperatures in the west, you're likely not going to see positive temperatures in the east at the same exact time. It happens, but if we see those warmer conditions out west, that's going to allow the colder temperatures to move further east. That's why the PNA is important for the east as well. I hope that makes sense. In the southeast isn't quite as warm by this point. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to move on towards about Friday, October 30th, where we're really going to start to see things switch for the eastern United States. All right, now here we are taking a look at October 30th. That's going to be a Friday at about, again, maybe 1 or 2 p.m. here. And that's for the east. It's going to be about 2 p.m. If you're in the west, it's maybe about, depending on how far west you are, just deduct the amount of hours, but a little bit earlier. For the eastern half of the United States, it's appearing likely that we're going to have some colder than normal conditions. The southeast ridge is trying to hold on, but it's losing the battle by this point. It's going to be pretty close to normal, not too far below normal temperatures, so it's going to be quite seasonable, I think. And by the time we're reaching the 31st, Halloween, you can see we're actually going to have some pretty far below normal temperatures here, especially for the mid-Atlantic there, the Delmarva, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina. Even South Carolina and Georgia are finally in the below normal column there, so it might be a quite pleasant Halloween. I've always noticed that Halloween tends to be a very warm day where I live, and it's kind of annoying because, when I was a kid, I'm talking when I was like 13, 14, I was making videos back then. You can actually check on my channel. You can go back and click earliest upload, and I was literally a kid making videos on this channel. Back then, I was still in love with the weather, obviously, but I also was a kid, so I was like dressing up for Halloween and stuff. But it was always really uncomfortably hot, and I always hated that. Alright, and that pattern really kind of just sticks around through the end of the model run. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to take a look at 2 separate 10-day increments just to take a look at the differences here real quick before we close out the video. So here's the 23rd through the 2nd, and as you can see, very cold for the central United States. For a 10-day period to have those greens and even those deeper blues there in between, in the green, like inside the green, that is very extreme because those blues there is about 15 to 30 degrees below normal, and that's actually 19 probably in those deeper blues, maybe around 20 degrees below normal. So that is very cold for a 10-day period. You can see that southeast ridge is very defined for this first 10 days. And even the west is around neutral, so not really, it's a very neutral PNA. But as we get to the 29th through the 8th here, which is kind of the later portion of this model run, We see warm in the west, which is our positive PNA developing, and then overall colder in the east. But again, it's going to be quite seasonable, so it's going to be near normal. Keep in mind that there is some dates in here that are colder than others and some that are warmer than others, but overall it's a little bit colder there in the eastern half of the United States. So that is going to be a pretty massive switch, almost the opposite on these two separate 10-day periods. So that's in between there's when this huge major pattern switch occurs. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, what is your favorite snowstorm that's ever happened? And Gretchen Davis said, Storm March 92 in Pennsylvania. We had 37 inches of snow, and that's a very extreme amount. I think that's around the most I've ever seen for Winter Storm Jonas, which was the massive one in January of 2016. I traveled up to Winchester, Virginia. Best decision of my life. I forget how much snow we saw. I'll have to go look back, but I think it was around 40 inches. So probably the most I will ever see in my entire life. Very cool experience. If you experienced that snowstorm, Winter Storm Jonas, let me know your experience with that in the comments down below. Anyway, for today's Patreon highlight of the day, we added a lot of names again. You guys have been eating the Patreon page up. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to continue to give you guys as much content as I could possibly bring on there. The only reason I'll slow down is if I run out of ideas for posts, so if you have any recommendations, let me know of things you'd like to see on the Patreon page, because I just am looking for more things to do on there. For our Patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our Diamond patrons, Alicia Davis, It's Jay, Madbird, Cindy Klein, Kellen Manhart, Mariah Vieira, Dan Hazard, and Mark J. I'm realizing how hard it's going to be to do this every day as we get more patrons, but I guess it's a good problem to have. For our Platinum patrons, we have Adam S., Donna Carnes, Larry LePan, and Cameron Marshall. I want to thank you all for supporting the channel. If you would like to be on this patron end screen here and get a shout out, you can do so by joining our Patreon. That's where you receive awesome content. It's only $3, but if you want to be a Diamond patron or a Platinum patron, that's the higher tiers. You can check it out. It's in the pinned comment in the description down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.